are many things that professionals can do to increase strong partnerships and create trust. One important consideration is to understand where families are with their emotions and readiness to receive information, and to be able to meet them at that place. If a family or individual is still in a state of shock or disbelief, they will be unable to hear news or additional information. Keep in mind that every individual is equipped with different abilities to process grief or other stressors. Everyone moves through this process in his or her own way and his or her own time. Parents of children with disabilities have reported that they go through a grieving process or a cycle that may impact their perspective and emotions. It is important to note that parents of children with autism have reported that the cycle of grief may occur over time in different areas as their child ages. Oftentimes, families report guilt about what they feel that they should have done differently, whether it was age of diagnosis, services they sought out, or things they did at home. This guilt and grief can come in waves, as oftentimes individuals with autism have their own cycles of progress or possible regression. It is essential that professionals working with families and individuals with autism are aware of this possible grief cycle and provide flexible levels of support as the family needs it. It is also essential that professionals help families understand what factors are in their control and what may not be within their control.
So when Josh was first diagnosed, I think I knew he was on the spectrum, but just getting that diagnosis was definitely hard. I think because I was a professional and did have that knowledge, people thought, oh, she'll be okay. She knows, what's going on and what to expect. But I think that even as a professional, I needed to know what to expect, what was the next step, and I just needed that support that it was going to be okay. It was going to be different, but it was going to be okay.
Sometimes when a family is experiencing grief, they really struggle with finding the right words. But it's okay to tell a professional that they are lost and they don't know where to go next. That's where the professional steps in and really can help with creating those next steps and knowing the course to take.
It's important to meet families where they are, especially whether it's a new diagnosis or a diagnosis that they've had for a while, that they may be in a different stage kind of in grief or thinking about what their child's future is going to be like. So depending on where they're at, I try not to overload them with certain information or try to take smaller steps at a time. If they're earlier in the process, try to ask more questions and make sure that they know what I'm saying and that they feel that they have the power to ask me questions too.
It's important that professionals recognize that grief keeps reemerging so that they know to meet families where they are at and to continue to provide support to families and to kids as they're going through. It's not just the diagnosis, it's living life with autism spectrum disorder.
Sometimes families are pulled in so many directions. They want the best for their child, and there are so many supports that are available. It's too hard to do it all. Sometimes focusing on one thing at a time is the best way to move forward. When taking on too much, sometimes that can be detrimental, can create more stress, can deplete your energy and confuse you and frazzle you with the directions that you're going. Focus on the resources and the supports that are really beneficial. Sometimes it's hard to know if you're involved with so much what really is helpful. Families don't always have the words to ask additional questions to receive clarity, so professionals need to make sure that they are describing the purpose and problem clearly and why specific recommendations are being made. Specific information will also eliminate misinterpretation and make sure that all parties are on the same page. Take time to really listen and to answer questions. By really listening, it establishes that you care and are interested in truly helping. It also allows you to comprehend the best way to help a family if you're really paying close attention.
I think families can offer a ton of information and collaboration for me. I can't make any decisions without information from the family on knowing what happens with their child on a daily basis, what their child likes to do, what things have worked in the past, and things that are currently working for them at home. Families have all that expertise about their child.
Families need to recognize that professionals only have the information that we provide them. As parents, we have all the insights to our children and what's important to them and what's important to us. So it's our responsibility to make sure they can best support us that way and provide the most benefit.
As a family and I dialogue more about the child's needs and what their day looks like, we can get more information that helps discern whether or not we need to be looking into additional resources, such as adaptive equipment or safety equipment that would be helpful for them.
The schools have a child for 8 hours a day. A parent has the child their whole life. There's so much information that a parent has, whether it be medical, whether it be just anecdotal that they see working with their child at home, that can be incredibly beneficial to us. It is a different setting. Not always does it apply, but the more we have and the more ideas that the parent brings to share, often the better we're able to tailor their educational experience to align with their goals.
It's important that families are open and share information across providers so that everybody's on the same page, because we all have our different perspectives and a little piece of the puzzle, and so everybody needs the information so we can put those pieces together.
Realize also that families need your help in coordinating supports. They are often not aware of the options that are available and can benefit from the connections that service providers have. Helping them to prioritize and establishing the next steps will aid in keeping all parties focused and creates precedence. This can be useful in eliminating confusion of what to do next.
I think that professionals could better understand our situation as a family if they understand that this is a really big circle of people. We have a lot of people in this formula. Our son Wyatt contributes, every one of Rise teachers, his paraprofessionals, administrators, family members, friends, neighbors. And I think that professionals sometimes come in and because they've had the experience and they've lived this every day, they also have to understand that there are a lot more components to our story than just the data that's on the paper that's in front of them. It's a much bigger picture than just data on a page.
I think open communication and flexibility is usually established through making sure that families feel like they're being heard and that what's happening on a daily basis that I have an actual understanding of, and not just an idea of, or that I'm assuming what's happening at home, but that I really understand where they're coming from and what daily life looks like.
Strategies that I find helpful when working with families where communication might be a little more difficult or challenging would include more frequent follow-up visits and interfacing with other organizations, community supports that are involved in that child's care.
As a parent, there's a lot of good that comes out of collaborating, whether it is with a professional, with another family member, with another parent, and building teams supports the whole.
The more we know our parents, the more we're able to propose goals that align with a parent's desires for post-secondary outcomes.
Keep a positive focus and celebrate successes. By building on the positive, it tends to keep things moving with forward momentum. Individuals always seem to be aware of the negative, but can have a hard time putting a lens on the good things that are happening. Recognize that each positive insight can be fuel for additional progress. Don't underestimate the value of this tool.
I think that professionals can help celebrate the successes of our family by asking questions, by acknowledging those strengths, and by showing interest in our family and what's going on. I think that when people accentuate Joshua's strengths, it helps him to feel better about himself, and he's more positive. It makes him try harder because he knows that people have faith in him and that he can do things.
Celebrating successes with families is exciting, really rewarding part of this job. I'm inspired by families daily. We have a question on one of our forums that says, tell me a great thing that your child did in the last week. And I think that just opens the door to be able to share those successes that child's had.
We have often used token economy systems with Rye, as motivators, to get him to do the things that he doesn't really like to do, like schoolwork. At the end of that, if he fills a board of Rye Cash, he gets a trip to Laser Lanes, or we take him to the party store to buy a new sword. Professionals, I think, can help us celebrate those successes in a similar way. If he hits those benchmarks, we need to have a party. We need to celebrate that in a way that is fun for Rye, not a way that's fun for us. It's just to acknowledge, our accomplishments and the hard work that we've put into it. So I think that there can always be some little token of appreciation, that a professional would give to a kid that's worked really hard.
I think it's really important to celebrate successes with families because sometimes we're really focused on all of the negative or all of the areas that the child has to grow in. So when I communicate with families after a session, I try to emphasize the things that went really well that day so that they understand that there were things that went well and there are reasons to celebrate what happened that day.
Let families know it's okay to not have all the answers today. This takes time. Encourage them to take care of themselves, communicate and share responsibilities between themselves, and learn from the past and focus on the future.